My name's Chandler. I'm from St. John, New Brunswick. I have 2 children. Leland is 8 and Allison is 6. Allison was born in 2012 with CHARGE syndrome. CHARGE syndrome is a complex genetic syndrome, so it presents itself differently in each individual. For Allison, CHARGE syndrome means she has a visual component where she has, when her eyes were developing, they didn't fully develop, so there's a hole in both of her eyes. She's also deaf and uses American Sign Language as her primary mode of communication. She was born with a heart defect, and at 5 months old, she had her first open heart surgery. We're still actively being seen by cardiology because she will need another. She has low muscle tone, and she also was born without vestibular system, so her balance organs are either missing or malformed. With the low muscle tone and the missing balance organs, she struggled to walk when she was younger. So she learned to walk when she was just about 4. I've made myself aware of what she is dealing with, so it's hard to concentrate on what it is as a whole because there's just so much to it. When Allison was born, they had asked us to be in Halifax around when I should have the baby. So that alone was very overwhelming because I'm now going to a city that I don't know, away from my family. And my husband worked at the refinery, so the plan was he was going to, come up to Halifax for his 5 days off. And I had a 2-year-old with me as well. So I would have my son with me, and then he would leave and go to work and come back on his 4 days off. But luckily, we moved up there, and the day that my husband was supposed to come back I went into labor, so we went to the hospital. It was unbelievably overwhelming. I almost don't remember very much because it was so overwhelming. I didn't know what was going on. She was born and immediately taken away, and so my husband went with her, and so you're just kind of left not knowing what's going on or what's happening. For the first 5 months of her life, it was very much learning about this heart defect, learning what we were supposed to be watching for, and being a mom of a new baby, you're overly sensitive of everything, so to throw these extra things that I'm supposed to be watching for, I thought I saw them all the time. It's funny thinking back now because the audiologist came in and he asked us to sit down, and he seemed very gloomy. So we were like, okay, he doesn't have great news. You could just tell by his body language. He asked us to sit down, and he told us, your daughter is deaf and she's not responding to any sound. And me and my husband kind of went, okay, she's alive right now. She just went through open heart surgery. It's okay that she can't hear. We were just happy that she was alive. Well, next is ENT, a big long list of specialists that you've got to go see, and a big long list of testing and hearing aids and implants and speech pathology, and the list was there, and we're going to do whatever it takes, and so we did. We followed everything they said, but with each specialist came a new issue. So that first 2 years was extremely difficult in that, we were like, okay, heart's done. Oh, okay, now hearing, okay. And then you'd see a specialist and they would notice something else. She doesn't seem to be growing like she should. So then they would refer you. We were told that she wouldn't even be able to learn. It was like, give me the list and I'll go do it. I'm that type of personality. And so I don't know how I did do it, but I did do everything everyone told me to do. And every night I went to bed completely exhausted. One day, actually, we were visiting a new occupational therapist. They asked me to fill out a form to get to know her. And so I'd filled out all the medical history. I was like, oh, I'm pro at this. If I can fill this out, not even thinking twice. And then they actually wanted to have a personalized piece, who is Allison? What does she like? What does she do? What does she find funny? Like, there was just questions that people should be able to answer of their children. I just started bawling, and the receptionist was just like, what's happening? It was so awkward, but I just started bawling because I didn't know. I didn't know who my daughter was. I didn't know her because I couldn't communicate with her. I need to be able to communicate with her. So I personally am going to put a halt to all of my homework from everybody and focus on learning how to communicate with her. And so I reached out to our community. Just took a simple Google search, but I just put in ASL class, and St. John Deaf and Hard of Hearing popped up. And so my husband contacted them, and it was like, oh, you're a family, your daughter's deaf? Oh, we have this support for you. When can we come? It was set up immediately. Like, it was almost as if they knew that what I was going through. It was at that point that things shifted for us, and we started learning American Sign Language, and Allison started learning American Sign Language, and then we were slowly getting to know who she was, and then we'd be quickly beginning to know who she was. The support for us really changed our perspective in that, Allison is still a little kid and wants to do little kid things. So when I shifted my thinking in that's when we became more of a family, started doing things as a family. Her frustration levels went down. She started walking. She started being happy. Like, that was our biggest change, was, wow, she was always screaming and crying, and she was wanting to do things, but nobody could communicate with her. I really feel that once we started the communication piece, we were able to encourage her and get her to do more of our homework that we were supposed to be doing with everything. We ordered a pediatric walker, got it to the house, and she loved it. She was like, woo, going all around the house with it, like immediately the first day we got it. And then that enticed her to try to go up to something and then hold onto something and start to walk along things in the house. She showed us her limits, and so we knew that we weren't going to push her past her limit, but we didn't want to not push her to her limit. We had a very awesome physiotherapist. One day we told her we got the walker, and she was like, awesome, bring it in, let's see it. Once Allison started getting comfortable in the walker, she's like, well, let's try something else. So she actually made these plungers with really high handles, and that Allison had to start practicing walking with the plungers. So there wasn't a lot of support there, but there was more support than, just having to use her walker. So she was like, it was hilarious to watch her going through, and we made some plungers at home as well. And, Allison did not love it. Like, she wasn't a fan of the plungers, but she learned to walk like very, very soon after we started using the plungers. We knew at that point that it was confidence. She didn't have any confidence in herself. And needless to say, when she did take those first few steps on her own without any help, it was very exciting for all of us.
Papa!
Kneel right down there.
Kneel down. And kneel down. Well, there.
I was too focused on what I was supposed to be doing and how I looked to other people. I wanted to be a good mom, but I was trying to be a good mom in the eyes of everybody around me, not necessarily my kids' eyes. If I could go back and start from day one, I would just focus on my family and see what's working and what's not working. And if something's not working, it's not bad to stop doing it. I need to learn to be a good mom in my unique situation, same as every other mom out there has a different situation. So I think that would be my biggest message, would just, let your family be your family and do what works for your family.